Hello, this is Astrid, and today I am interviewing Ben Kaufman, who is all the way in Israel, whilst I'm here in Bangkok, Thailand. We will be talking about how to purchase bitcoins if you're under 18, as well as how to secure them safely. So, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about how you got into programming?
Yeah, sure. So I started programming when I was about 14, so 6 years ago or so. Yeah, and I just started with when I was just at school, with just some cluster of programming, and from there I just decided that that's what I want to do basically. So took a few more courses and stuff, and from then I just learned by myself. Until I basically at 15, I think I left school to just focus on programming. And since then, I've been just working full time as a developer.
Yeah, was it really hard for you to leave school?
So not too difficult. So the choice was a little bit strange, I would say, at least compared to social standards and stuff. But once I've just realized that I know what I want to do in life and what I want to work at, and started actually doing it, then it wasn't so bad. Just and then just the bureaucracy and stuff.
How did you first hear about Bitcoin, and when did you first buy some?
hmm Yeah, so I started with Bitcoin. I just kind of stumbled upon it in I think it was late 2016 or early 2017, something like that. Just heard about it from a friend who wanted to ask a couple of questions, and I got kind of interested, like what's all that about, this internet money. So I just started reading about it a lot, basically. Um, and from then I just decided that that's what I want to work at. That's what I find the most interesting, and that I want to be in this space, basically.
So, if a teenager wanted to buy Bitcoin under 18 years old, and their parents do not support it, what is the easiest way?
Yeah, so if your parents aren't very supportive about this, then the only option that you have is to do this just with basically either on some platform like BISC or Hodl Hodl, or something which just doesn't require any KYC or anything. So maybe you could go to some Bitcoin meetup when there are any, and there you can usually buy some. Or there are these, basically any KYC free option would probably work.
How would you describe a Bitcoin meetup? How does it look like?
Yeah, it's super simple. Just a couple of people who are really passionate about Bitcoin just hanging around. Right now, there obviously aren't many, if at all, because of this COVID crisis and stuff. But in normal times, you can, depends on where you are exactly, but nearly any place in the world, there is some Bitcoin community not so far from you. You just need to find it and search more. But there is almost always some meetup going on pretty much anywhere that I've visited in the world, at least. And yeah, you can always find somebody who's interested, and maybe and it depends on your location, but you can probably still find somebody who can sell some.
And have you ever bought any other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin?
At first, yes. So I did buy into some stuff, but with time, I just realized that it doesn't make any sense, at least in my opinion. And I decided that I should focus only on Bitcoin, and that's the only thing that I found truly interesting.
Which cryptocurrencies was it that you invested in before?
I was mostly interested in Ethereum, to be honest, at first. I was mostly interested in that. I learned a lot about it, learned the programming language as well for it, how to write smart contracts, all of that. So I really dived quite deep into it. But eventually I just realized that a lot of stuff doesn't make much sense and there's no much use, to be honest. So I kind of realized slowly that the only thing that truly is important, I believe, is Bitcoin.
Would you say you mostly invest in Bitcoin because of the financial reward or any other reasons?
Yeah, so I think the biggest, the initial drive, so it's hard to say. So I believe it's going up, but a lot of the first, at least, consideration was that I used to have a lot of trouble with banks because when you're basically, I guess you might know that when you're young, working with banks is horrible. I couldn't, I could get money in, I couldn't get money out of the bank. I couldn't spend it almost at all. And just being able to hold my own money just made so much sense because of how terrible it was to work with banks as a kid. So that was a huge drive for me, at least at first. Yeah, but obviously I believe it will go up. But yeah, that's another thing.
So you're currently in Israel right now. I've been there 2 times, and I noticed that it's a very high-tech country compared to many others. How is the Bitcoin situation in Israel?
Yeah, it's pretty great, to be honest. We have it's called the Bitcoin Embassy there, which is a great place in the central place in Tel Aviv. So it's really great to meet up and stuff. And at least now it's usually there are no meetups because Corona and stuff. But it's really great to meet. There are a lot of meetups, not just there, but this is also a main place. There is a lot of people are very interested. A lot of people are in this, so it's pretty nice. There are a lot of troubles, I would say, with the regulation and stuff, which is quite annoying. But the scene itself, the people, it's quite interesting. It's quite good.
Do you ever have like meetups online now because of Corona or?
Sometimes there are, and sometimes people try to set up some, but it's definitely it's not the same. There are a few, but it isn't the same like at all, to be honest. At least for me.
Yeah, I think that many teenagers will be afraid to store money in Bitcoin since there is many stories about how people have gotten their coins stolen or lost them. What would you say is the best way to store Bitcoin?
Yeah, so it depends. So if you're holding it yourself, if you're holding it with a custodial, because this obviously requires KYC and stuff, so then it's another story. What I would also recommend is to hold it yourself, to be honest. But in case you do, then the most important thing is just to keep it simple. So there are a lot of ways to do that based on like what's your security requirement, let's say, how experienced you are technically. But you don't have to overthink it. I would say you don't have to. If you are afraid of losing your money, then just keep it very simple. There are a lot of wallets, like mobile wallets or something like Blue Wallet, for example, which you just need to back up these 12 words, 24 words, whatever, or some hardware wallet like Trezor or Cold Card, or Bitbox, Kobo. There are tons of stuff. So you just need to pick one of them and that you feel comfortable with. Just make sure to back up your 24 seed words. You should probably also try to see that you know how to restore from that. So if something goes wrong, how to recover with these words. So just, for example, before sending money, try to wipe the device or whatever. and just try to restore from backup to see how it goes. But it's really not something to be so afraid of if you take it seriously. So most people that I know that lost money, and we're just, just wrote it on a napkin and then threw it away or something. So they just weren't taking it seriously enough. But if you're taking it seriously and you're taking the time to make sure that you have everything set up correctly and you understand what you're doing, then you probably shouldn't be very worried.
But if you do lose it, is it possible to ever get it back?
Usually not. It depends on what you lost exactly. So if you have this seed backup, so these 24 words, then you usually can restore that. If you lost both your device and these words, so you have absolutely nothing, then no. But if you do have either the device or the words, then you usually can.
So the Lightning Network, what is the difference between like Bitcoin transactions and Lightning transactions?
Yeah, so the Lightning Network is another concept. It's basically just a way to transact with Bitcoin without writing every transaction to the Bitcoin blockchain. So when you're transacting with Bitcoin, you're writing every transaction to all participants of the network. It needs to be included in the ledger, in the records, basically, of all nodes in the network. And when you're using the Lightning Network, it's kind of a technique to not have to write everything into the chain without having to trust anybody else with the money, basically. So you can transact with people, they can't cheat you, but you don't have to write everything into the chain immediately. You don't have to put everything on the chain and pay all the fees that the chain requires and the time that is required to wait for confirmations and stuff. So it's just a way to basically to batch Bitcoin transactions in a more efficient way. So you can wait with propagating them and transact with other people meanwhile.
Do you have any good Lightning wallet suggestion?
So yeah, I heard a few like very good words about Phonix wallet. It's Android only as far as I know, so I couldn't try it myself, but I heard good words on that. And for iOS, I'd say Breeze is really good. It's actually an Israeli company, which makes that. So I really like it personally. There are also Blue Wallet, which is great. It's also quite easy, but then it's also custodial as far as I remember by default. But if you can take it, make it basically non-custodial. I don't remember exactly though if it's custodial or just, I don't remember for sure, but I know they're pretty good too. Besides, there's also Zap, which I like a lot. There is Zeus Wallet, which is, I think, a little harder to use, but it's really nice as well. Again, it really depends on what you want to use, but I think these are like very, very nice options.
Do you have a favorite amongst those?
I think Breeze is probably my favorite currently, but they're all pretty great.
So I have one more question. Do you have any other advice for teenagers now entering the Bitcoin world?
I guess so. The first thing is I really think that this is very, very important for people to start at least to get interested in, to learn more about it. I think the idea of Bitcoin is very important to basically to grasp properly. So just start by learning more about it. Don't get discouraged and just throw it away or something like that. You probably would like to at least buy some, but that's your choice. But I would strongly recommend to start reading about it. I believe it will be you'll really be ahead of everybody else if you just take the time now to start and learn about it more. You don't have to learn to code, although I think it's great, and I think teenagers especially should consider that. But if you really don't want to or don't like it, then it's really not necessary to get involved in Bitcoin. It's not something that only technical people can do. It's really for everyone. And I think this is a really, really important alternative for teenagers, especially who have, well, basically hard time with banks and stuff like that, with the legacy financial system. So this should feel really much easier to use, basically.
Thank you so much for taking your time to talk with me today. Maybe we'll continue this discussion some other day.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.